with no further ado and a much better microphone, everyone please give it up for Mike Scioscia.
Thank you, John Paul. It's a pleasure to be here. And John Paul, you were a kindergartner, but you look like an 8th grader. I guarantee you that. It's a pleasure to be out here this afternoon. And as John Paul said, I was born and raised Catholic, followed my faith as a kid because we had to. I think every youngster, you kind of don't understand what church is about when you're 5, 6, 7 years old. But I was from a big Italian Catholic family back in Philadelphia. And one thing I've learned as your faith gets stronger is it's not so much what we want to do. And we have our plans. And as they say, God kind of laughs at them and takes you in a direction that you don't expect. And it has happened many times in my life. I'm 66 years old now, and I always go back to see where are those detours and what did I think I was going to do and where did I end up. So I grew up in the Philadelphia area, only remember playing sports, big Italian loving family, went to church every Sunday, midnight mass on Christmas because we want to go open our gifts earlier, so we go at 12 o'clock so we can open our gifts up at 1 in the morning, you know, that kind of deal. But the thing I remember is just the unity. I remember my grandmother, when she wasn't watching her soap operas, even when she was saying a rosary. And she was sitting in her living room all day long, praying, watching TV until she had to cook. And then when she cooked, boy did she cook, as you can see. I was born 12 pounds, I was born 10 pounds, 12 ounces. I've been trying to lose weight ever since. But it has never failed. Every time I'm eating, I think back to those days. So I grew up in a big sports family. I just remember playing sports my whole life. And the first big detour was, I love football. I played baseball, basketball, loved football. I wanted to go to Penn State to play football. So my junior year in high school, Penn State recruiter came down. He was talking to a couple of us, and I was all excited to meet him. And he said, Mike, I'm going to be honest with you, for our conference and our team, you're a little bit too slow and too small to play for us. But I hear you're pretty good at baseball, so that might be your route. And I was crushed. I was totally crushed. I love football. Absolutely. Just would go to bed with the football, holding it, and played offensive line, so I didn't touch the ball very much. But I wanted to, I really wanted to play football. So that's the first detour. Now the big detour comes the next year. I played baseball. My mom had taught school for 30 years, first grade. So I didn't know much about the Major League Draft. This is 1976, totally different than it is now. You don't go on this big ESPN, MLB TV, and you get introduced. That's not what it was. I didn't even know when the draft was. But December, before my senior season, we get a phone call from Coach Wilhelm from Clemson University. And my mom took the call. I didn't even take the call. She took the call, and she said, Michael, middle of January, Coach Wilhelm's going to be up here. He's going to come to dinner. They want you to play baseball at Clemson University. You're going to go play baseball at Clemson University. I said, okay, Mom, great. She said, if he gives you anything you need to sign, you sign it. Say, thank you, Coach. And that's where you're going to go to school. You're going to get your education. Fine. You know the moms in the Italian family, they carry the hammer. That was it. So signed, sealed, delivered, right? I'm going to Clemson University. Well, Coach Wilhelm comes in, signed the letter of intent. Case closed. Well, in June of that year, now after I graduate high school, and I'm about a month from going down to Clemson for orientation, they have the Major League Draft. And lo and behold, I get picked by the Los Angeles Dodgers in the first round of the 1976 draft, which I did not even, you were surprised, I was shocked. So get the call from Ben Wade, who was a scouting director, and says, my mom said, Mr. Wade called, you were drafted in the first round. Here's his number. Call him back and tell him, thank you very much for the interest, but you're going to go to Clemson. Okay, done deal. I called Ben Wade, Mr. Wade, said, Mr. Wade, this is Mike Scioscia, thank you for the honor of drafting me, but I'm going to go to Clemson University. He said, Mike, we'll be in touch. So I don't hear from him for about 2 or 3 weeks. I'm about a week away from going down to Clemson University. Phone rings. I'm the only one home. It's 12 o'clock. It's noon. So it wakes me up. I get up. You guys know any senior that has already graduated before they go to college, nobody gets up before noon. You're doing stuff all night. So the phone rings. There's Mike there. Yes, this is Mike. This is Tommy Lasorda with the Dodgers. I said, yeah, right. And Mike hung up the phone. I go now. I wash my face off. I'm saying, who did this? It's one of my friends. Put their dad up or somebody doing it. Phone rings again. Hello, Mike. Do not hang up. This is Tommy Lasorda with the Dodgers. He was the third base coach at that time. He had not started managing in 1976. He says, we're in town to play the Phillies. I want to pick you up. I'm going to pick you up in 1 hour. I know where you live. I want you to come down and work out at Veterans Stadium with us. Now, nobody's home. This is 1976. I'm the only one home. My mom's form of communication was she had a pad of paper on the kitchen table, and she had a pencil with it. And you would have to leave a note if you were going anywhere. So I said, Mom and Dad, I'm going out to Veterans Stadium to work out with Tommy Lasorda. I'll be back later. So they don't even know what's going on. I go work out, and Tommy the whole way down and say, Mike, this is your one chance to be a Dodger. And he's just giving me the history of the Dodgers and the Dodger catchers, which was my position, and the whole thing. We didn't even get to the stadium, and in my head I'm like, man, how much do I have to pay them to sign? Because I'd love to play with them. I work out, I come back home, walk in. Now it's almost midnight because I stayed for the game. My mom and dad are in our parlor, we used to call it, the little living room. Now the houses don't even have a parlor in them. We don't even talk about it. They're there with the light on. I walk in and my dad goes, how did it go? You really went and worked out the stadium? I said, yeah. I said, Mom, Dad, I want to sign with the Dodgers. My mom burst into tears, goes upstairs. She's crying the whole night. Now my dad waited till she got up the steps and came over and gave me a big hug. I said, I'm proud of you, son. He was smart. My dad wasn't educated, but he was smart. He knew he had to wait until my mom got out of the room before he could congratulate me. So he congratulates me. I have a plane ticket the next day for Walla Walla, Washington, which you walk into it and it says, Walla Walla, Washington. The town's so nice they had to name it twice. That's the town. So I'm leaving for the airport the next day. I've got the whole Italian entourage coming, and they're all behind me, the aunts, the uncles, everybody, cousins and all. My grandmother's got some eggplant Parmesan sandwiches she's got in a bag she's giving me, so it's the whole thing. So I say goodbye to everybody, the last person to come up, and my mom hadn't said a word all morning. Last person to come up is my mom. And she said something, and all you youngsters should think about this, and even youngsters, everybody. She said something that stuck with me from that day in 1976, and I try to live it every day. And she said, Michael, she just hugged me. She said, Michael, if you want to be a leader, the first person you have to lead is yourself. And what she was telling me, it didn't hit me, but then as I started to fly, she was saying, look, there are going to be things thrown at you. You're young. No matter how mature you think you are, you're not. You have to walk the walk and talk the talk. And if you think about it, we've all been leaders in our lives. If you even had a younger brother and sister, you were a leader. They would look up to you and do everything you wanted to do. Somebody down the street was 2 or 3 years older than you, and they emulated everything you did. You need to lead yourself as that example. And that was really meaningful to myself, and I try to think about it every day. So I talked about Tommy Lasorda, and let me get back on Tommy, because he's the most competitive person I've ever met in my life. He's one of the funniest people that I ever met in my life, and one of the toughest people that I had ever met in my life. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago, but he was very meaningful to all of us that were around him. And the one thing his presence was your attitude. And he was so forceful on just, look, you have to have a good attitude in life, in everything. You're playing baseball, you have to think positive, have a good attitude. And he said something, he said, look, when attitude meets opportunity, great things happen. So all you youngsters understand the importance of carrying yourself a certain way with confidence, having that good attitude. And when that opportunity comes, you're ready for it. And we talked about Tommy, about being competitive. Every day on the field, he expected his team to win. He expected you to win. And he would walk the walk. He would take us to church on the road. We'd find a mass at have to be early in the morning because we'd have day games on Sunday. So it might be a 7 o'clock mass, 7:30 mass. This is after a night game on Saturday, so you really don't get back to the hotel and get in bed until maybe 12:30, 1 in the morning. But you were up in the lobby. You were up in the lobby at 6:45 if you had a 7 o'clock mass, checked out already, ready to go. And there was about anywhere from 7 to 10 of us that would go to mass with Tommy. So we're in Cincinnati one morning, early morning. We go to church, and we fill up a whole pew. And on the right is the manager of the Cincinnati Reds at that time, John McNamara, who went to church regularly. John, just a great human being. So we say hi to him real quick. The mass starts. The mass is over. Tommy says, "Hey, just wait right here." So John McNamara is walking out, says a prayer, lights a candle. He leaves the church. Tommy says, "Okay, let's go." He goes over, blows the candle out, and has us all light a candle. And he just waited. He says, I gotta make sure he doesn't come back in here. But that was Tommy. That's a true story. He blew the candle out. So Tommy was very colorful, and he expected you to win. So this is 1983. We're in Cincinnati. We're supposed to win the division. One thing about the Dodgers, you were supposed to take the field. You were supposed to win the division, get to the World Series every year. That was the expectation. So we're playing really poor baseball. So the first month of the season, we're in last place. So we're in Cincinnati. Tommy has a meeting. And you knew if he had a meeting before the game, that it was going to be very, very, let's just say, colorful. I don't want to get very colorful. So he started to let us have it. And in that team, we had Steve Sachs at second base, who was a really good player, but at that time, couldn't throw the ball straight to save his life. He was throwing the ball everywhere. And we had Pedro Guerrero. I don't know if you remember the name Pedro Guerrero, playing third base. Now, Pedro was a great hitter, and he was a good third baseman, except he didn't like ground balls. So that was a little tough to play third base, not liking ground balls. So we're having a terrible run for a month. And he starts letting us have it. And he says, he starts with Pedro at third base, and he goes, "Pedro, what are you thinking out there playing third base?" And Pedro spoke perfect English when he wanted to. Anyway, he goes, "Well, Tommy, I'm thinking two things. First, when our pitcher's winding up and he's throwing a pitch, I say a quick prayer, and I say, please, God, don't let him hit the ball to me." So we were kind of quizzical, and he says, "Well, what's the second thing?" He says, "If I have time, I say, please don't let him hit at the sacks either." These are true stories. These are true stories. But that's the way Tommy had. He had his way to insert that competitiveness into a group of guys. We knew we were there for one thing, and that was to win. We ended up winning the division that year too. So we knew we were there for one reason. That was to win. And I think that was Woody would talk about the tradition, the history of the Dodgers. So like I said, I've hit so many forks in the road, and you think you're going one way and you go the other one. The last big one was I played with the Dodgers. I managed in the Dodger organization, the minor leagues. I thought in some capacity I'd be with the Dodgers forever. Well, God had other plans. So in 1999, I get a phone call to interview for a job as manager with at that time, the Anaheim Angels. So I said, well, I can't lose anything, let's go and interview. Not really expecting to get the position, just going to go and interview for experience. And lo and behold, 2 days later, Bill Stillman calls me and said, Mike, come on in, I want to talk to you. So I didn't know what he wanted to talk to me about. He said, we want to offer you the position to manage the Angels. And so I was kind of like, you know how you kind of black out after that? I'm like good news, bad news. Like, wait a minute. You want me to manage? I got to manage the Angels now. It's down the road from the Dodgers, but it's an opportunity you can't pass up. So my wife asked, so we're talking, so I accept the position. Honey, should we move down to Orange County? We were living in Westlake Village. I said, honey, this job might last 10 months or 10 years. You don't know. You just don't know as a manager. I said, no, I'll commute. So I commuted from Westlake Village all the way down into Anaheim every day and then home. And enjoyed every minute of it. I did it. I enjoyed I enjoyed the car ride, and then you think, well, I'll do this for 3-4 years, maybe 5 years. We win the World Series in 2002, so you're like, okay, maybe we're going to try to win another one. You try to win another one, you want to stay. So that possibly 3 years or 4 years of managing turned into 19 seasons with the Angels. Nothing I did, and as I said, I think I would have been rather out there playing golf after about 3-4 years of relaxing, and probably a lot of fans would too after we won the World Series. But I just it was just felt the right thing to do, and I had a tremendous opportunity there, and I thank God every day for it. But now it gets back to what's real. I was very fortunate to have a tremendous career in baseball. But now I've been retired now going on 7 years. It seems like 7 days, it's been 7 years. You start to really understand what's important in life. And we've had so many of my teammates and friends that have passed on. Your kids grow up, they have kids. And so right now our life is totally devoted. And I've had other opportunities to manage, and it didn't feel right because I don't think I know God didn't want me to do it. We're devoted to our family, our grandkids, just being the best dad I can be the best granddad I can be. And that gives me peace. And everyone asks me, Mike, do you think you'll ever get into the Hall of Fame? And I go, Hall of Fame what? Baseball Hall of Fame. I said, no, I'm not going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. But I'll tell you what, my last breath on earth, I want to be in the Husband Hall of Fame, the Granddad Hall of Fame, the Dad Hall of Fame. If I can do that, my life's been a success. That's why I feel. Thank you.
On behalf of the First Friday Friars, we've got a little memento award for you. So it's your own First Friday Friar. So thank you for being here. This is a tradition, goes back to 1959.
Kind of looks like me.
There you go.